Today we're going to be talking about the worst episodes of Gumball. Without further ado, let's begin. The Amazing World of Gumball was a show that I grew up watching. Now, I wouldn't say growing up, because when I was super young, I heard about Gumball, but I never watched it. But then about 5 years ago, I started watching the show a few months after it ended. I think I started watching it around mid July or late August. I don't know. Yeah, I think I started watching it like around July or August of 2019. Yeah, literally a few months before it ended. And it has become my favorite show of all time. I love Gumball. And not just because of the animation, but the color, the creative writing, everything about it is great. But even though the show is incredible, there were a few episodes that I really disliked. So I'm going to be talking about these episodes and see. So these will be the top 5 worst episodes of Gumball. There were a few episodes that I really, really disliked. And today we're going to be seeing which one truly is the worst. Alright. Now, most of these are going to become a no surprise to everyone. To everyone, this will be no surprise. Now, some of these will be no surprise because some of these episodes a lot of people really hate, and some of these episodes some people like. But yeah. Now, without further ado, let's begin. At number 5, we have The Picnic. This episode is just so boring. Gumball and Darwin had instructions of what to do and how to get to the picnic, but yet they just decided to be stupid. Now, Gumball's character is supposed to be stupid, but that's what makes him funny. But here, they took it a little far and made him a little bit obnoxious. And that's just what makes me hate this episode. And what makes me hate it even more is just Gumball Darwin lost, and then they get even more lost. Like, all it is just them getting lost so many times. And I don't want to even remind you of that ending. That ending part was just so weird. Like, the ending of the episode is probably the weirdest ending Gumball has ever had. Now, I've seen weirder endings to shows, but this one is, but yeah. All it is just Gumball and Darwin getting lost so many times because they're so stupid. And that's what just really makes me dislike this episode. Alright. Now, let's move on to number 4. At number 4, we've got The Laziest. See, I told you some of these will come as a no surprise to everyone because so many people hate this episode. Like, this is probably one of the most hated episodes of the show, and I can definitely see why I hate this episode as well. Richard is supposed to have chores to do before their mom gets back, and he refuses to do it because he's lazy. But that's what makes him a fun character. But what is not funny is that hold on. So basically, Gumball and Darwin ruin Larry's life in this episode. They make him lose his job, his car, his girlfriend that he was going to propose to, and now he basically has nothing left. No job, no car, no girlfriend, no nothing. So he decides to become lazy once again, because after all, he did say he used to be the laziest person in town. But I just feel so bad for Larry in this episode. And luckily, things do turn out better at the end. But things do turn out better, and his life goes back to normal after that episode. Yeah, I think they learned their lesson. And the ending is worse. Richard makes it look like that he's been doing all of the chores so that way Gumball and Darwin have to do all the chores for him that Richard should be doing. This is the worst ending to a Gumball episode I have ever seen. No, this episode I'm going to talk about the second most. This is going to be the second. No. The rest of these 3 episodes I'm going to be talking about the most. And yeah. And they did all of that to Larry so he can come to their lazy competition while Gumball and Darwin were in timeout. But it turns out they did all of that for nothing. They basically ruined his life for nothing. All they wanted him to do was just enter a lazy competition, and he didn't join because he was too lazy to join. Like, that was so ridiculous. Yeah, overall, like I said, this is probably the most hated episode of the show. I can see why so many people hate it, and I hate this episode as well. Now, anyways, let's move on to number 2. At number 2, we've got the X. Gumball is so obnoxious in this episode. He's basically like from the picnic where he's stupid. I mean, that's what makes his character funny. That's part of his character. That's what makes him funny. But they took it a little far and made him a little bit obnoxious, and they did the same thing in this episode. Gumball is not listening to anyone, and he tries his best to get Rob to hate him again. And if I were Rob, I would definitely go back to hating Gumball. Because after literally after everything he does in this episode, Rob now wants to be enemies with Banana Joe. Because Banana Joe, is slightly more annoying. Now I can definitely see why, because Rob says that Gumball saved him and Rob saved Gumball, and that's no joke. In the disaster and the rerun, we see in those episodes, Gumball saved Rob and Rob saved Gumball. Yeah. So those episodes, after those episodes, I can definitely see where Rob is coming from. And remember how I said Gumball is not listening to anyone? No. He doesn't listen to Penny. He doesn't listen to Darwin, even though Darwin doesn't really talk to him that much. Now, if there was anything I liked about this episode, it's when Darwin says he's enemies with a hat. That was probably the only thing I liked about this episode. But everything else was just weird. Here's proof that Gumball does not listen to Penny. Penny tells Gumball that he's gonna get a brain freeze if he doesn't stop eating so much ice cream, and guess what? It happens. And when Rob is probably at the door, Penny tells him, no, don't open the door. Don't answer the door. Gumball does not listen. He goes to open the door. And when Penny is trying to tell Gumball something, I forgot what it was, but she told him something, Gumball was not listening to her. And then he literally says the same thing that she does, and then she gets frustrated about this. And it is just horrible. I hate how annoying Gumball is in this episode. I hate how he does not listen to anybody. It's just stupid. Now, like I said, the only thing I really actually liked about this episode was Darwin being enemies with a hat. That was the only thing about this episode that I liked. And now we move on to number 1. At number 1 the worst episode of Gumball ever. The number one pick that I have was the robot. It got silent for a minute because I wanted to be dramatic. You might have thought that something happened in this video. No. It just got silent for a second because I wanted to be dramatic. I was gonna add drum roll, but I decided not to. The robot is the worst episode of Gumball. Bobber wants to be friends with Gumball and Darwin since he feels different. Okay. I feel like that the opening is kind of relatable. How Bobber feels different from everyone. It feels like he doesn't fit in. I kind of feel the same way. I feel different and I don't fit in very well. Like a misfit. So he decides to be friends with Gumball and Darwin. So then Gumball does a challenge with Bobber to see if he can be like Gumball for a whole day. And Bobber takes it too far because he literally steals Gumball's body, and everybody in town thinks that Bobber is Gumball when he is obviously not. And also, I just feel so bad for Gumball in this episode. I mean, literally, his whole life got taken away. Literally, Anais, the smartest character of the show, literally thought that Bobbert was Gumball. Like, did nobody in Gumball's family that this was stupid? Like, seriously, what the actual were they thinking? Did they not find Gumball's voice a little strange? Did they not see that one eye is bigger than the other? What? Isn't that a little bit stupid? And then, what really made me feel bad for Gumball, I really felt bad for Gumball, but what made me feel even more bad for him is when he had to sit outside with the sprinkler on, crying out in the cold night. Now, I would play a clip, but I'm not going to because of copyright reasons. I'm sorry, Gumball. I'm just so sorry. Now, there were a few things I liked about this episode. There are a few things I like about this episode, but that does not excuse for the episode being horrible. I like the moment where they hug for a little while. And I also like this clip where Darwin asks, which one's the real Gumball? The one that's obviously not a robot. Oh, bing, ow, what'd you do that for? You told me to. I told you to hit the robot. But that's exactly what the robot would have said. The only two scenes I like about this episode is the long running hug and the mix up between Gumball and Robot from Darwin. Those were the only two things I like about this episode, but everything else. Oh wait, actually, I kind of like that cool robot scene. The part where that big action scene with Bobber turning into a robot, like that action scene was that was a pretty cool action scene. I kind of like that. But other than that, the movie itself is bad. The episode itself is just horrible, horrible, horrible. Now, what do you all think about these episodes? Oh, and also, I forgot to list an honorable mention. Yeah, there is an honorable mention on this list. The honorable mention was the Bros. I was originally going to have the Bros a part of the list and also put it at number 1, but I just decided not to. So now I'm going to be talking about the Bros. The Bros is a really, really bad episode. I hate the Bros. Darwin is being a literal asshole this episode. He makes Gumball break up with Penny just so he can spend time with him. Like, dude, they hang out with each other like in like almost every single episode. Like, that's enough moments. Like, you need to have gumball sometimes. Like, it's necessary to have people hang out with other people sometimes too. Like, you don't own gumball. Like, you are not the parent. You do not have control of him. You cannot force him to only be with you. I hate how he just makes Gumball break up with Penny, and how much of an asshole he is to both of them in this episode. Now, the only thing I really liked about this episode was when Gumball tries to get Penny back together, and Gumball's like big, wide, creepy smile is actually pretty funny. Now, that moment, the moment with them in the shed, I think it's a shed, that moment, I liked that. That was the only part about the episode I liked. The Bros was just horrible. That is just a terrible episode, and it completely changes Darwin as a character. He goes from being a lovable, kind-hearted person to a straight-up asshole. That's what I hate about the Bros. Now, it's still an honorable mention. I wanted to make this list a top 5, but it wouldn't make sense to make it a top 6. So yeah, overall, what do you think about these episodes? I'm sorry if there were any episodes on this list that you liked. You are allowed to like these episodes. I'm just saying, these are my opinions. You want to go ahead and watch these episodes and like them, that's fine. You can like the episodes. You can watch them and enjoy them. That's good for you if you like these episodes. But for me, I just don't like these episodes. I just hate them so much. Now, thanks for watching. And what are your thoughts on these episodes? If there's an episode of Gumball that you really hated and thought maybe it was the worst, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I gotta go. Peace!